Carol grew up in a Christian home where silence was seen as strength and pain was covered with quiet dignity. Her father, once a policeman, now worked nights as a security guard in a warehouse in E.G. Her mother, diabetic and frail, could barely move without help. Carol was the eldest of 4 children, and the day she turned 17, her life stopped belonging to her. It belonged to her family's survival. She got accepted to study computer science at the university. Her parents celebrated quietly, proud and hopeful. But school wasn't what she imagined. Her roommates looked like magazine covers, loud, confident, always dressed in the latest fashion. Every weekend they left with small bags and high heels, and by Monday, they returned with new wigs, new clothes, and perfumes that smelled like hotels. Carol stayed behind. She had only 2 gowns, which she washed every weekend and hung behind the hostel to dry. She wore rubber slippers, held a small Bible, and spoke gently. Her eyes always looked tired. They laughed at her. "Carol Shift, you always look like a prayer point," Vanessa scoffed. "Why do you enjoy suffering?" Patricia added, "You're too pretty to be broke." They called her church girl and teased her daily. But Carol never responded with anger. She smiled, even when it hurt. She would always say, "God will provide." Even on days her stomach growled, even when she had no food, even when she had to borrow sanitary pads or use torn cloth. She clung to one thing, her dignity. "This is all I have left," she told herself. "I won't lose this too." But life was watching, and a storm was coming, the kind that breaks silently until everything falls apart. Years passed, and Carol graduated with quiet pride. No carryovers, no disgrace. She held her certificate like a newborn, convinced the hardest days were over. But life had other plans. 2 months after she returned home, her father fell sick. It started with fatigue, then persistent coughing, and cold sweats. One quiet Sunday morning, he gripped Carol's hand tightly, his chest rising and falling like a broken drum. Then he exhaled one final time, and didn't inhale again. Carol froze. Her mother screamed. Her siblings wept. The house felt hollow. The family's pillar was gone. And suddenly, Carol was the roof, holding it all together. With her mother too weak to help and the younger one still in school, there was no one else. Carol had no savings, no job, just her hands, her mind, and her faith. So she tried. She bought a tray and began frying yam by the roadside. Each day, she woke by 4 a.m., eyes red, fingers stinking of oil. But Lagos didn't care. One morning, the police came and kicked her tray. "You're blocking the road." They seized her money and left her sobbing on the pavement. Another day, a bus sped by and drenched her tray with muddy water. Her food was ruined. People walked past like nothing had happened. Carol sat there, her wrapper soaked, her heart heavy, and tears fell, not loud, just slow, quiet like dripping taps. She gave up that hustle. Then she borrowed 5,000 Nigerian nairas from a church member and tried selling second-hand clothes. She displayed them neatly on a rope outside the house and called out to passers-by. "Why do your clothes smell like the cemetery?" one woman asked, waving her hand like she was chasing flies. No one bought. Another dream collapsed. Next, Carol started washing clothes, for housemaids, bachelors, anyone who needed her. She scrubbed shirts until her back ached like an old door hinge. But the pay was too small. Enough for noodles. Maybe soap. But never peace. She was tired. Her hands, her eyes, even her hope was wearing thin, like a cloth that's been washed too many times. And in that silence, the world was still watching, preparing to whisper an offer that would test everything. Carol kept waking early, dressing neatly, carrying her CV like a soldier without a weapon. She wanted something better, not frying by the roadside, not washing clothes. A real job. The first place she tried was a private school. Clean walls, big gate. She sat among others waiting to be interviewed. When her turn came, she answered with calm confidence. "You're very smart," a teacher whispered. She went home with a small light in her chest. But days passed. Then weeks. Nothing. Later she found out the job had been given to the school owner's niece. The interviews were a show. She tore the paper and threw it away. The next day, she went to a cyber cafe. The man behind the desk scanned her CV and smiled too wide. "You're perfect for this job," he said. Carol smiled, hope flickering again. "Just one thing," he added, leaning in. "Some roles come with extra responsibilities. Just one night and the job is yours." His tongue licked his lips. Carol stood, legs trembling, and walked out. That night, she clutched her pillow and cried without sound. Then she tried a company that sold electrical items. The office smelled of air freshener and freshly mopped floors. The woman interviewing her wore glasses and gold chains. "Do you have any internal referrals?" she asked. Carol blinked. "No, Ma. Just my CV and skills." The woman placed the CV aside. "We're looking for people with strong connections." Carol left again. Shoulders low, feet dragging. She sat on a bench outside, watching the evening sky, heavy with clouds that looked ready to fall, but didn't. Just like her. Inside, her heart was screaming, "I'm tired. Tired of walking. Tired of hoping. Tired of smiling at lies. Tired of hunger that bites without teeth. Tired of shame that settles like dust on clean clothes." That evening, it rained. The kind of rain that tapped on rooftops gently, like soft fingers. Carol was in a salon, holding a mop stick. Not as a worker, not as a stylist, just the girl who cleaned after hours. She was wiping mirrors, picking up scattered hair, sweeping the floor. Then the glass door opened with a soft clink. Carol turned. And there, standing in the doorway, smiling like sunlight, was Linda. Her old roommate from school. The same one the next morning. It started. Quiet, strange, almost too quiet. Sandra, one of their old roommates, was the first to feel it. She sent a voice note early that morning, her voice tired, slightly amused. "Guys, I think my skin is protesting all these monthly harvests," she said, half laughing. She had woken up with an itch, just a small rash below her stomach, right above the usual shaving line. She thought it was nothing, probably a reaction to a dull blade. Nobody in the group took it seriously. Carol laughed. Linda dropped a few emojis. It felt harmless. But by the third day, Sandra stopped responding. Carol tried calling. Nothing. Linda sent someone to check on her. Sandra lived alone in a serviced apartment in Lekki, clean, well secured. The girl they sent came back shaken. Sandra had been found lying on her bed, half covered, her body curled, naked from the waist down. Her thighs were swollen, her skin discolored in places, deep patches of black, rough and peeling. The rash had spread. But it wasn't just a rash anymore. It looked like something was eating into her flesh, slow and deliberate. And she kept saying one thing over and over, barely above a whisper. They said don't stop." No one understood. Not Carol, not Linda. They rushed her to a private hospital. The doctors ran tests, confused by what they saw. No infection, no bacteria, no STDs. But the skin was decaying, almost like it was dying from the inside out. Sandra didn't improve. By the 5th day, she couldn't walk. The flesh on her thighs had opened up in places. She screamed whenever it was touched. She stopped eating. She started talking in her sleep, strange things, Names they didn't recognize, stories that made no sense. Carol stood beside her hospital bed, heart pounding, hands cold. She had brought Sandra grapes and juice, but the girl couldn't even raise her head. "What happened to me?" Sandra whispered once, eyes barely open. Carol didn't know. She just shook her head. Later that night, Linda called. "We need to pause everything," she said, her voice steady but low. "Cancel all deliveries. Nobody shaves this month. Not until we figure this out." Carol agreed. But deep down, she felt it too. Something had shifted. Something had cracked open. That same week, Patricia began itching. Then Vanessa. And within 10 days, 3 girls in the group had been hospitalized with the same symptoms. Swollen skin, dark patches, unbearable pain, and the same slow decay. Doctors couldn't explain it. Nothing showed up on tests. No virus, no bacteria, no chemical burn. Then one girl, Anita, left a message in the group chat before she stopped responding altogether. "I dream of them now," she wrote. "They watch me while I sleep. They whisper. They want more. They said I can't stop." The chat went silent after that. Carol didn't sleep well for days. She kept waking up in sweat, her dreams filled with long dark corridors, whispers behind mirrors, shadows that moved but had no faces. One night, she stared into her bathroom mirror for too long and thought she saw something blink. She stopped shaving. She unplugged her kit, packed it in a box, and pushed it under her bed. But the fear stayed. Not just fear of illness, but fear of the unknown. Fear that something had been traded in those transactions, something more than hair. Something spiritual. Something cursed. She visited Sandra again before she left the city. The girl was barely alive. Her voice was gone. She stared at Carol through heavy, swollen eyes and tried to lift her hand, but it dropped like wood. Carol cried in the elevator going down. She cried harder when she got home. She knelt by her bedside and prayed for the first time in months. Real, trembling prayers that spilled out like water from a broken pipe. She didn't want the money anymore. She wanted her peace back. Her sleep. Her dignity. Whatever was left of it. And so, the next morning, she called Linda. "I'm done," she said. Linda didn't argue. She just exhaled slowly and replied, "Me too. I opened something. They said I opened the wrong gate." Carol rushed there, and when she saw her, her stomach twisted. It was Sandra, the same Sandra who always wore lace panties and Gucci slides, now looking like she'd crawled through fire. They took her to a private clinic in 6th. The money was available. They all had cash. The doctor ran every possible test, blood work, skin cultures, scans, everything came back normal. "You're fine," he said. But Sandra was far from fine. She scratched at her skin as if it were burning from the inside out. It started at her lower waist, moved to her thighs, then her arms. She said it felt like insects crawling beneath her flesh. No cream worked. No medication helped. Even with sleeping pills, she screamed through the night. Then Patricia, another former roommate, called the group in panic one evening. "Girls, I don't know what's happening. My body's itching, starting from the exact place I shaved. It's spreading." Carol sat in her new apartment listening to the voice note, her chest tightening. She tried to dismiss it. Maybe it was a coincidence, maybe bad water or an infection from a shaving blade. Patricia was rushed to a different hospital. Same results, "You're fine." But she wasn't. She couldn't sleep, sit, or even bathe in cold water. Lena tried to calm them all. "You're overthinking this. Let's wait. I'll talk to Mr. O again." Mr. O was their main buyer, a quiet man who never showed his face. Everything went through Linda. But before Linda could reach out to him, her own body betrayed her. It started with a rash in the same spot. She ignored it, but soon came the pain, the itch, the heat. She broke down in Carol's living room. "Carol, I think something's wrong. I'm scared." Carol didn't know what to say. For the first time, she looked at her own skin and feared her turn might be coming. Then came the nightmares. Patricia called one night in tears. "They're coming, Carol. I saw them." A woman with no face called my name. She said, "Give it back. You opened the gate." Carol felt a cold wash over her. "What gate?" she asked. But Patricia only sobbed. A week later, Sandra died. The doctor said heart failure. But how? A young girl, just 27, with no medical history? That's when it became clear, this wasn't a simple rash. It was judgment. Patricia stopped answering calls. She stayed locked indoors, whispering to herself. One of the girls who visited found symbols scratched into her walls, strange markings made with fingernails. Linda began sleeping in a church. Her body was covered in welts. Her mother begged pastors and prophets to intercede. Carol watched them fall, one after another. And then, it came to her. A week after Sandra's burial, Carol had quit everything. No more clients, no more deliveries. She changed her number, avoided the salon. But the body never forgets. Lying on her bed, the first itch hit her lower stomach. Sharp. She sat up. The room was dark. The fan was off. She scratched again. It got hotter. She ran to the mirror, pulled down her shorts. Tiny red dots moved across her skin, moving. She screamed. Her mother rushed in. "What is it?" Carol couldn't speak. How could she explain that something she couldn't see, something she once welcomed, had come to collect its payment, and the cost wasn't in naira. It was flesh and soul. Her mother, a quiet woman, dropped everything and began to pray. From midnight to morning, she anointed the room, cried, laid hands on her daughter's body. Still, the itching continued. Then Carol confessed. She broke down one evening. "Mommy, I have something to tell you." She poured everything out, the salon job, Linda, the deliveries, the hair, the money, every detail spilled like dirty water from a full bucket. Her mother said nothing. She just wept, deep, aching sobs. Then she stood, wiped her tears with the edge of her wrapper, and said firmly, "You will not die in this house. Not while I'm breathing." She wrapped a scarf around Carol's head, held her hand, and said, "Let's go." "Where?" Carol asked, weakly. Her mother answered, "To church. It's time to meet the one who sees everything, even what hides behind clean money." By evening, they reached the church. The prayer room was small, just a wooden table, 3 plastic chairs, and a cross. At the far end sat Pastor Nwoko, known in that part of Lagos for casting out demons and healing the broken. He looked at Carol once, then again. Her skin pale, eyes red, hands trembling. He didn't speak at first. He placed his hand on her head and began to pray, low and deep. When he finally opened his eyes, he said, "My daughter, you sold your covering." Carol didn't understand. He turned to her mother. She removed her protection, for money. Tears streamed down Carol's cheeks. "Please, help me." The pastor leaned forward. "This is not just a sickness. It's a covenant, sealed the day your hair left your body. And it didn't go to just anyone. It went to something, someone." He paused. "Bring the others, anyone involved. Bring them all." That night, Carol called Linda and Patricia. Their voices were weak, but they came. Patricia had scratched her arms raw. Linda hid the sores on her neck beneath a scarf. They looked like shadows of themselves. The pastor looked each of them in the eye. "Who did you sell the hair to?" Linda spoke first. "We don't know. Just a man who collected it. A middleman." "You made a deal with someone you never saw?" the pastor asked. "You opened a gate and walked away." Carol whispered. "We didn't know. We just needed help." The pastor shut his Bible. Silence filled the room. "If you don't find the man behind this and make him confess, openly, you will die." The girls gasped. "How long do we have?" Linda asked. 7 days, he said. His voice rang like thunder. The next morning, they returned to the old meeting spot, the back of the salon. It was empty. The table, gone. The bench, broken. No sign of the man. They called his number, switched off. They searched the streets, asked bike riders, paid touts, described the man. Tall. Beard. Scar on his face. But no one knew. No one helped. 4 days passed. Carol barely slept. Her body still itched, less now, but fear consumed her faster than the rash. On the 5th day, Patricia stopped responding. They found her in bed, cold and still. Nails broken. Lips dry. Gone. Heart failure again, the doctor said. Carol and Linda wept in the hallway. "This is real," Carol whispered. "We're next," Linda replied. They buried Patricia quietly. No crowd. Just silence and sand. On the 6th day, Carol checked on Linda. She found her lying on the bed, scarf on, eyes closed. Stiff. No scream. No sign. Just gone. Carol didn't cry. She just stared, then picked up her Bible and left. No bag. No locked door. Just her and the road back to the church, where her mother had been fasting for 6 days. She knelt at the altar, beside her mother, and whispered, "If I'm going to die, let me die here." Her mother held her close. They wept together. The church was silent, filled only with prayer. The 7th day was coming. That morning, the wind roared. The sky turned heavy. Carol lay weak on the floor. Her mother sat beside her, eyes red, lips cracked from fasting. They waited. Maybe her heart would stop too. Then came a knock. A young man stood at the door, holding a phone. "Turn on the news," he said. They rushed to the back office. The pastor found the channel. Everyone leaned in. A man had been caught in a nearby town at a riverside shrine. His clothes were stained, hands dirty, eyes wild, but he smiled like he had won something. Behind him, police held up bottles, glass containers filled with strands of hair. Some wrapped in red cloth, others sealed in dark calabashes. The smell, they said, was like death and dust. The man laughed as they dragged him away. "I've taken what I came for," he said. "Their gates are open. I used their power for my life, my health, my riches." He confessed. He'd been using pubic hair from young women, tapping into their reproductive power through rituals. His contact? A salon owner with a network of girls. The dots connected. Carol saw his face on the screen. It was him. She remembered the photo Linda once showed her. He was the buyer. Carol fainted. They prayed, poured water, called her name. That night was the final vigil. The church was dark, but alive with fire and worship. Carol screamed suddenly, collapsed, and began to convulse. She vomited, not food, black sand, thick and bitter. Her body trembled, her eyes rolled back. Then silence. They laid her on a bench, covered her with white cloth, and prayed. When she opened her eyes, the pain was gone. The itch, gone. She was free. But healing leaves scars. Doctors later told her she might never carry a child again. Her womb was damaged. Carol didn't cry. She nodded. The pastor called her aside. That money you made, every kobo, cost you. Let it go, or the gate will open again. Carol obeyed. She sold the car, gave away the house, emptied her accounts, closed her tech lounge, moved with her mother and siblings to a quiet room outside the city. One mattress, one bulb, one small fan, and peace. She got a job with a church NGO, simple data work. Enough to eat. Enough to breathe. No more wigs. No more driving. Each night, she'd gently touch her belly, where the scars still itched, and whisper the same words. Some gates are better locked forever. When survival costs your soul, it's no longer a hustle, it's a sacrifice. Not all money is a blessing. Some come wrapped in curses. If this story touched you, please like, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more powerful tales like this.